All right, guys. It's August 19th still. Um, making a trade on the ES right now. So first, let's look at the market internals. Right now, it's been holding negative for a while. The idea with a lot of traders out there was that because we had such strength in the market the other day, I'll show you real quick. I'll zoom it out real quick. That look at this huge up move, and we did get a nice pullback, so it could balance in this area, which is what's going on right now. That it would balance and then eventually would break out and make new highs, because there was a lot of short selling up until this point, and then we just basically reversed it within a day, and now we're at the highs again. But what's happening right now is once it did come back down to this level, it did hold as support and is still doing so. And when it came up to this resistance area, it sold off right away. But one thing to kind of notice though is look at the tick. The majority of the time, the tick has been below zero, right? It had a couple of spikes here. Obviously, when it hit the resistance, it did kind of skew up to the upside. We saw the internals in the advanced decline skewing up to the upside, and then really started to come back down again into support level, and then we had these quick ticks to these extremes, right? But instead of making, I mean, it is kind of making like higher highs and higher lows, but it's holding back below zero, right? And then the AD has not been moving up. This thing has been moving back down into this area. So what we're really trying to see is a breakdown of this support level, which would be a more higher probability trade. But what I did do, and I'll show you how I was using market profile on the ES, and it's relative basically, by using the internals. So internals are below zero, and it does come back up in support. So you're thinking, all right, maybe it'll come back to the other side and then break out eventually, because we are looking for a directional move today. But look here on the crosshairs on where that high was, right? We had that high here, and then we had the second high right here off this top. And if you go to your left, I know it's kind of hard to see with all these different lines, but this is your high value area for pre-market, right? Look what happened. It actually hit that as this is coming down, and you see that the moving average is moving down. Now it's sideways, but look what it did when it came up. It hit that high value area, and then it moved back down into support, right? So that was trade number one. And right now I'm just looking for this thing as it holds below zero, for this thing to eventually break down from here, right? This level, to hold this level here, right? Because if it comes all the way back up here, then we got to look at the internals again. But this thing might turn back around, but it's not really showing enough strength to really push up there, right? It's holding at the lows. The internals are holding at the lows. It's just it's just not breaking through yet. Now what could happen is this thing could just hold here, support holds, and the sellers can just not break through here, and then eventually it bounces up, and the tick and the AD starts moving up. But until that happens, right now we're just going to kind of sit on our hands and kind of wait and see what this balance looks like. It's either going to break below, or it's just going to break above, but either way it's going to break one side or the other. So that's what we're looking for. I'll go ahead and pause the video, and once we do see a trade, we'll look at the internals again and see if we have a valid trade set up, and we'll take one. All right, go ahead and pause the video, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, I think this is it. So check out the market internals again. Here's a tick. You had these spikes up higher. We stayed below zero. We had a spike up higher here, and then look at the price, right? And then we had a higher high on the tick, higher high on the advanced decline, so that makes sense, a higher high on the price. and then we went back below 0, came back down into support, and then check out this third one. This might be the exhaustion that we're looking at. All right, we have a lower tick, right, than these two. We have a lower advanced decline than the peaks here, right? This was a higher high. It was kind of moving up, right? I'll show you real quick. You know, it was moving up. Now check what's going on right now. Compared to the last high, look at that. Everything's moving down, right? You got the ticks too moving down, right? From here to here. And as this price moved up again, that was a possible short opportunity right there. So right now, we're really looking to see this thing exhaust, and as far as pushing out of support, and then maybe the sellers can really take over here. But we're really gonna have to look for a nice push to the downside. I did short sell here, and I kept my stop pretty tight between 1.5 ticks. I mean 1.5 points right above here of this high, because if it does come back up and break it, I mean it's gonna break and probably move up. But if it's gonna move down further from here after this nice last attempt and exhaustion, it should hold this peak right here. Okay, so we'll keep those lines in place just to kind of see what's going on, and then really what we want to see is this thing, the tick, hold below 0, and then really start pushing down and making negative numbers, and then price start pushing through the support zone down here. Okay, again, we are still negative 1,000, so I mean it's not extreme weakness. Extreme weakness would be a negative 1,500, but in a balanced area like this, while we're balancing still and holding below 0 and holding in the negative, thousands in the advanced decline, to me shows potential for this thing to really move down and eventually break down here. So took that trade. We'll see what happens. Once it does start breaking, I'll start the video again. If it does go against us and hit our stops, again I'll start the video and we'll talk about that. But really that's my trade idea right now. And as you can see, if I zoom out on the tick, look how much the majority of time it's been below 0, right? It's just, buyers have been really holding this support area, but eventually they gotta give. Someone's gonna give. And right now, I would say the probability is to the downside, as you can see with the internals. I'm not just making it up. I'm looking at I'm making that decision based off of what the market's telling me, right? And then now we just need this price to really start to push down through here, and we should have a pretty decent trade. So I'll go ahead and pause the video, and we'll see what happens once this thing does break either side. But it looks like this high value area here is holding. Once it breaks down here to this low value area, it needs to break through there, and then we'll see some further downside from there, and we'll talk about some profits or profit taking. Okay, I'll go ahead and pause the video, and we will see what happens. Alright guys, there's a breakdown we were looking for, literally like a minute after I paused the video. So we're gonna see if this thing really has strength and pushes below this support area, and then we'll see if this thing just kind of starts dropping from there. Let me pull out to a 5-minute. Okay, and you can kind of see that it's kind of consolidating this area. So as it was hitting, it was holding, but once it does break through here, I'd have targets down here at the 89 as at least an initial target. So we'll see what happens there. Right now I'm down. I'm 10 contracts in, looking for at least the initial target, probably into this 90 range. I mean, it's already about to hit it right there. So I'm gonna move some of this down. Go ahead and take some profit here, probably at the 92. But you can see how quickly this thing can start moving, and that trade idea really worked because of that. And we'll see some extreme ticks here, so I'll start taking profit as the tick starts shooting down at the negatives. And what we'll probably see is the thing to really break down, or break down halfway and then come back up for a retest, and then we can short it again there. So we'll go ahead and that's kind of the reason why we'll go ahead and take some profit there. That way we can scale out a little bit as we go. Another thing really quickly I want to show you too is this is a chart with all the overlays of, you got the S&P, you got the NASDAQ, and the Russell here, and you can see that the Russell just made new lows today. Same thing with the NQ. So this thing does have some more downside as it goes into these support levels, probably down here, right? So same thing with the ES. We're looking at support levels down here, probably down to the at least the 88, and then who knows how much further. So we'll look to kind of start scaling out some more contracts as we start going down, but really my initial target will be here at the 89, 89.25. So I just put about one tick above where my target's supposed to be, and we'll scale out as we go. So I'll go ahead and pause the video so you have to watch this through, but if this does start to really start pouring down, we will re-engage in the video. And one thing I will do is, let me see, where is this going to be at? So it just dropped at the 93. So I'm not, what I don't want to see this thing do, because the internals are now extremely negative. I'm seeing this thing, okay, we're retracing back into the support area right here. You know, it just broke through, retracing back into support. You know, this thing shouldn't completely turn back around into the top of that zone, not after a breakdown like this. So I'm gonna have my other charts open just to see what's going on here, right? I mean, obviously there's some support down in these levels, so there was a little bounce, but I am gonna move my my stops down down to the 94 right here, and look to see this thing come back up to the 0, and then look for further shorting at that point. So just to protect my remaining contracts there, because I didn't scale out too many as it came down to 92, but I knew it would at least initially break down first and then come back for a retest, and then we can look for another short opportunity, and maybe I might short a few more contracts if it does retrace back deep enough. And we're looking at probably no more than the 93 level. So we'll short some more maybe at the 93, and this thing should hold, and we should see another breakdown even further. And as you can see, like I said, market internals has been kind of giving you that by looking at that, you know, downward movement. And the main point I wanted to make was, you know, how I got into this short just recently, and how I kind of came up with that, that conceptual or contextual analysis based on what was going on with the market internals and how powerful that is. So we'll look for further downside. I'm going to go ahead and hold the remaining contracts. I have 8 contracts still remaining. I'll probably try to reshort some more right around here, and then this is confirmation, nice little breakdown from here. What I would like to see is a break and hold below here, and then we can short some more at that point. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and pause the video, and I'll restart it once this thing starts to really move to the downside. Okay, alright, I'm back. Just a quick update. So you saw that thing retrace, and that's fine, because a lot of times the market will give you a chance to get back into the market. Say that I wasn't short here, I was looking for that confirmation. This next, your trade could have been this retracement back up into these to the support zone after the breakout, right? And then you can look at the tick. It did kind of come up a little bit above 0, peaked, but didn't hit the last other highs that it was peaking at before it dropped, which is a good sign. And also the AD line is still slanted to the downside, right? So these are still good signs for me to hold my shorts. But again, you know, if I wouldn't have gotten short up here after seeing the internals kind of deviate or diverge, right? Where you're making higher highs, higher lows, and all of a sudden you start turning the other way, and then internals kind of gave you a heads up, right? So that was how we got short here, and we're looking for further short downside down into the support levels here. And what I'm looking at right now is how willing am I to hold onto this short? Well, as long as it still holds underneath zero, and we're not making extreme highs on the market internals. AD line is still skewing to the downside and moving lower, right? Those are all good signs or reasons why I would hold on to this. So if you were short here, I would probably put my stop a little bit, maybe in the 94.5 above the 94, just because we did just break down this level really hard. I mean, it shouldn't come back and retrace the whole way into that. But again, not just looking at price, but looking at market internals will give you a better idea of how and why to do that. And you have to look, we are kind of in the bottom of the range here. We are looking at breaking these prices down here, and it's not going to happen easily, especially after a big up move the other day with all these buyers coming in. So obviously, as we get lower, there are going to be buyers still at these levels, and we're still yet to break this little consolidation where it hesitated and really broke to the upside yesterday, and then we made new highs. So just something to think about there. Let me go ahead and pause the video, and we will see what happens. Okay. Alright guys, I'm back. Almost close to getting stopped out. I actually brought my stop down to break even the top of this support zone, like I said, 94. Although we haven't made extreme highs, and it's just kind of been balancing up and down around the zero line on the tick. The skew is still to the downside. Advanced decline is starting to slowly kind of keel over or move up. But the key really right now is looking at the other markets, and the other markets are still at this lows. I mean, it could just completely reverse all of a sudden. I get stopped out, and I move my stop down to 93.75, which was this recent high here, and hoping this thing continues going down. If it doesn't, I get stopped out. But really, I'm looking at these other markets here at the lows, and seeing, okay, is this thing going to keep moving down, or is it going to start coming up from here? So that will kind of give me a tell whether or not this market's going to keep pushing down. But this right here is not looking good. It looks like it's kind of stabilizing here, so could get stopped out at any second here. But the main point here I just wanted to make was this breakdown over here, right, where you saw internals kind of showing a divergence to the other side. Even though prices were stabilizing, moving up, internals were moving down, and you kind of saw how I was kind of talking through that, like, you're pushing up, you pushed up again, and then that's when you saw your exhaustion using your market internals. That third push up right here wasn't as high on the tick or the advanced decline, and then also the price wasn't peaking that high, and that was a perfect short opportunity. And as you can also look back and go, okay, well, what are the different levels that I was looking at? And technically, you had your high value here, and your low value here. As long as it stayed within this range, and I'll go to the 5 minute to give you a better idea. Well, I guess the 5 minute doesn't have it, but the point of control was right here, right? There was a lot of price moving up and down, and kind of holding between this level. And as long as it was doing that, and the internals were looking to the downside, that was a still valid short right there. So so far so good. Looking for this thing to really break down. That's the ideal situation. If it doesn't, and I get stopped out, I'll be done for the day. But main idea again was here, what to do right here. And I hope you guys learned something there. I'm going to go ahead and stop the video. You guys have a good night, and this will be my last trade for tonight. And I will see you guys. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.